your co-host.
All right. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. It's good to have you all here. So this evening we're going to be talking about how to identify, take advantage of and excel at remote jobs. So the idea is that even though maybe it was something that existed even before COVID happened, right? Once COVID happened, there was a rise in maybe people working remotely. And it seems to have been something that has become much more prominent than it used to be. So this evening, I have some panelists who have had experience with, and some of whom still are working remotely. So they would share their experiences with us. So we're going to have a first round where they would introduce themselves. So they'll tell us who they are, their positions, maybe where they work, and then their experience with remote work briefly. Then we'll go through a number of questions. So how to identify remote opportunities, and then how to even position yourself to take advantage of remote opportunities. So is it the same thing? So maybe that your CV have to be different? Are there different interview processes? And then how do you even excel at working remotely? Then there would be some other questions in terms of what are some differences that they have experienced with working remotely and then working in person, as well as working in Ghana and working in other parts of the world. And then I think finally they would end with maybe advice for anyone who wants to go the remote working way. And hopefully we may, if there are some questions from the from our guests as well. So please, in case you have a question, you can put it in the chat, or maybe once a time you can just raise your hand. So thank you all very much for joining. And then I will just hand over to my panelists now. So maybe you can just, if it's possible that you have your video on, or at least if you can just do that while you are introducing yourself. Right. So please, who would like to go first? Amatu, would you like to start? So we'd want to start with the introduction first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you, okay.
So my name is Amatu-Salaam Aidoo. So I have 8 years experience in software engineering and now data engineering. So for the past maybe 7 years, I was a software engineer in EcoBank e-process, and then I diverted to data engineering. I relocated to the UK, and then for the past 8 months, I've been a data engineer. The name of my company is Big Spark. So we consult for a couple of companies, and then I'm currently consulting for a bank in the UK as a data engineer. So before I left Ghana, during the pandemic, when the pandemic hit, we all went home. So that was when my remote working experience started. So we're all doing it. And then after the lockdown, we started going to the office, but then it became partial. So maybe 3 days at home, 2 days at the office. And then after my relocation, I'm a full-time remote worker now. So yeah, that's my introduction for now.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Amatu. Janice, please, would you like to go next?
Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Janice Tagoe, and I'm the former head of technology and innovation of the Ghana Library Authority, and also a Scrum Master and testing manager for Tech 11 GmbH. I'm currently pursuing my second master's degree in big data analytics in the United States, and I have worked remotely in both organizations. Ghana Library Authority, remote work started when COVID hit. And then after that, I also started working with Tech 11. So I'd like to share my experience with you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Janice. Andrews, please. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can.
Like I said, hello to everyone. Considering I'm the only guy here. So my name is Kangah. I'm a recent graduate of Kwame University of Science and Technology in Ghana. I'm a full stack engineer, software engineer. I've worked with, I'd say I have 3+ years of working experience. I've worked with several startups, Safe Hands, Minu Health AI, and currently I work at Tentable Ghana Limited. And I work with Morgan Stanley in the United States and then in the India. I work on that client for Tentable. I also work remotely. Most of the experience I've had working in software engineering has been remote. I only got into an office space when I finished university. So in my current company, I work in the office, but then remotely with Morgan Stanley. So yeah, I think that's me, and I also like to share my experience with you all.
All right, thank you very much, Andrews. Okay. Hello, Dorcas.
Dorcas, you may be on mute.
Okay, so Dorcas is still. Dorcas, are you able to speak now, or should we start without you? She sent a message earlier that she was still traveling.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dorcas,
You
we can
can?
hear you. Yes.
Okay, excellent. I'll just find a way to just settle. Okay, so
Okay. Hello, Dorcas, I think you may have to turn your video off. Hello, Dorcas, you may have to turn your video off because we can't hear you now.
Yeah, Angela, I think you should move on when she comes back.
Okay. So we would, while we wait for Dorcas to come back, we'll just go around. So then we'd go per panelist. So how can we identify remote opportunities? So, Amatu, would you like to start again?
Okay. So, how can we identify remote opportunities? So, I would say that, so I just wanted to find out if we are all in the software engineering profession, or some of us are trying to transition into maybe tech or something. So it's a question.
I am still in software, but with data analytics.
Okay. So I just wanted to
Okay, so someone sent a message in the chat that she's trying to transition.
Okay, so I'll just start from the beginning. If let's say somebody is not into tech at all, so they are not into software engineering, or they are not into data analytics or data engineering. So I would say that first of all, you need to upgrade your skills, right? You need to get the experience. So if I say upgrade your skills, I mean you may need to adopt the technologies that is required to be an engineer, i.e., study the programming languages, know how to use them for projects, preferably get an entry-level job. If you're in Ghana, you can start by applying for entry-level jobs in Ghana and even abroad or remotely if you are confident about your skill sets, right? I would also say that you should start adopting mentorship programs. So if you want to do something, you would want to interact and then learn from people who are already doing it. So there are a couple of online resources. There are people that you may know on social media, on LinkedIn and all of that, who can be your mentors. So you can speak to people, such people, to ask questions, how remote working is, how you can get into it and all of that. I would also say that you should align your search. So let's say you have the experience, you're already an engineer, you want to move into remote working and start applying for jobs. So I would recommend that you, as one of your searches for applying for these remote jobs, you should align your searches to and skew towards companies that are already adopting the remote work as their culture. Because some companies will say, oh yeah, we do remote, but then they wouldn't have the resources and the tools that will enable you to do your job very well. So you might be working, but then you realize that you spend like half day trying to connect to a server or trying to reach a colleague, because you may not be in the office, you may be at home and some of the colleagues may be in the office. So there will be that kind of miscommunication and delays. So you should be able to ascertain that they are actually enforcing the remote culture. And if I say enforce it, it's not just by mouth, but then by the tools they use, right? And the last thing I would say is that you should build your portfolio. So you should create projects. Maybe I'll talk about it in the next round of questions. But basically, that's it. Try and then align your search to resources and people and companies that are already doing remote jobs as their company culture. So that's what I'll say for now.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that, Amatu. Okay, Janice.
Okay, I'll just like to add that when it comes to identifying the work itself, there are many sites you could leverage on. Many people do not know about these sites. Majority of people just know about LinkedIn in Ghana, but then there are thousands you could leverage on. There's Indeed, there's Monster, ZipRecruiter, a lot of sites you could actually search. And then the wonderful thing about these job sites is they have search filters. So you can, as she mentioned, align your search so that you streamline the results and get what is best for you as well. So we could also use these job sites to identify the remote opportunities available on the market.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Andrews?
Yeah, for me, I think most of the important things have been said already. So right now, it will just be some platforms that like are available that people could like apply for, and I think most of them were also mentioned. And one that I feel is good for beginners mostly is Angel List, because most of the companies that are on there, they are startups. So I have also signed up there before. So I think it's a platform that like beginners can start from. For me, I'd like to stress on the fact that if you want to go working remote, you should be ready. You should meet the demands of the role you are applying for. And that's just to say you should better yourself, like get enough skills. That will make you stand out amongst your competitors in and that's also applying for remote jobs. Because mostly, for angel list, I know by the time when I was on the like interview process just required you to work on some mini projects. So they give you a small project to work on, small task, just to see how good you are with what you say you are good at. But if some companies will go the heavier extent to give you like tough coding problems. So I mean, I'm just trying to see that like while you are looking for the opportunity, you must also be preparing for the task at hand. You might get an interview, but then are you qualified for it? At my workplace, I think we had I came in with a couple of people, and some of them were not qualified, like really good enough. So I think that's very important. So building your portfolio, not in the number of years of experience, but in the skill, the team's experience in terms of things you worked on. I mean, tech right now is really great because you don't need somebody to give you work to be able to do something. So long as you have a computer and probably an internet, you'll be able to do anything. So work on your own ideas, and then you can put those on your resume, and it will sell you. Yeah.
Angela.
Thank you very much, Andrews.
Hello,
Right.
Angela.
Hello, yes, please.
Yes, I just wanted to add something. So I just wanted to add that all remote opportunities must not necessarily be programming or coding, because I realize that lots of people have this misconception that in order to be in the software circle or in the software world, then you have to necessarily know how to write codes or all those things. But then there are other fields also. So personally, as I mentioned, I am a Scrum Master and an Agile coach. So I work with software engineers, but I am not necessarily a software engineer. But then you would also have to have a basic understanding of the programming languages so that you'll be able to read code, but not necessarily write that. So I just wanted to put that out there so that those who feel that they are not interested in the actual coding aspect will not feel discouraged that, oh, since I cannot write codes or I'm not interested in programming, then I cannot find myself in the software or remote working space.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that, Janice. And please, do our panelists mind writing the names of some of the sites they mentioned in the chat box, so that, because you were all talking pretty fast, so we may not have got all the names.
Okay, sure.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so okay, someone has already summarized some of the things they've mentioned already. She's given tips for transitioners. Mary, thank you very much for sharing this. So she's included some of the names in the chat already. Okay, so we quickly go on to the next question. I think they've already touched a little bit on that. So how can we position ourselves to take advantage of these remote opportunities? Okay, so maybe let's switch it. Andrew, should we start from you this time? Okay, no, sorry, I think Dorcas just sent a message in the chat. I think she's able to speak now. So Dorcas actually has an accounting background. She just graduated from Academic University, and she was working remotely even before graduating. Dorcas.
Okay, so I have the
you introduce yourself, yes, and then we quickly go back to
the first Andrew. Okay. Hi everybody. As I said before, my name is Dorcas Temituro, and what I do is I run myself as a private consultant because I do different kinds of tasks and activities for people and also jobs. But work related, I am an executive assistant, right? I have worked for 3 CEOs and directors as of now. So the work I'm doing now is actually remote, and I'm working with someone from UK. And what I do is to provide consultancy base, and my work is fully remote. So that's me. And the first question is, how do you identify remote jobs? So there are definitely sites and platforms, LinkedIn, Upwork, that you use to identify these remote jobs and sites. But what I do mostly is I attend conference and events, because most conference and events have people from different background, different area. Actually, the lady I'm working for now that I'm providing consultancy to, I met her at a conference, and I had a conversation with her, and she was not in town for long, and that's how everything kicked off. Reached out to her in LinkedIn, and then she opened up different opportunity for me to work with different people across board. Right. As I already mentioned before, I help recruit individuals for businesses and organizations. So individuals that are interested in doing remote jobs with people outside the country, that's what I do. So I'll type the name, it's called Upwork, and I have 2 people already that have gotten opportunity from that site that even are benefiting from remote jobs as of now. So I would pass it on, and then when I get to the next question, I can say more. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so Andrews, back to you now for question 2. So how can we position ourselves to take advantage of remote opportunities?
So for me, I'd say, like you said, most of the things that are needed, like to prepare you in the first question. You just have to work on yourself, and then once you find the opportunity, mostly even if you work on yourself and like your resume shows that, you find out that people will be reaching out to you. So you just have to work on what. So I think the question or the whole topic became a little general, that it's not only about software engineering. I agree to that. There are other roles you can have remotely. Also, you could even work freelance. And so you have to be good at the skill you want to put to work. So I guess the only thing I would say is to work on yourself and the area or the direction in which you want to go. You have to work on those and then search for the opportunities, and you get them.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Andrews, for sharing that. So maybe for Janice, I'd like to go a little more specific, right? So in terms of taking advantage of some of these remote opportunities, does your CV need to be different from the usual CV? Are there some specific things that you may need to highlight for remote jobs?
Not different per se, but then I'll say that it should be well documented and it should be up to date. You should try to do it as professional as possible. There are many guidelines online that could help you do that. And then currently, even on Microsoft Word, we have templates which are very good, which could help you to create a very good CV. Yes. And then I would also like to circle back on the job sites. If you want to really take advantage of the remote opportunities, I would also advise that when you are creating your profile or your account on these job sites, try to be detailed as possible and try to create a very good, try to create a very good account and profile, because firstly, recruiters are likely to see your profile before they will see your resume. And so the importance of this cannot be overemphasized. Your profile should do a good job of representing you. And recruiters look at this to know whom they are dealing with. So always make sure that your profile is up to date. And then to make your application process easier you could also go ahead and upload your resume on your profile or account. That's where when you see a job ad you're interested in, it makes it easy to apply. So these are some of the ways you can take advantage of remote opportunities.
Okay, right. Thank you. Amatu, are there some things that you need to take into consideration? Let's say, is the interview process for remote jobs any different from what we are used to, or what are some things that you need to do to prepare yourself?
The interview process. So how do I put it? I don't think they are so much different, but then first of all, the CV. So when you are preparing your CV, because you are targeting remote jobs, there are some key things that you need to highlight in addition to your experiences and your skills. So I would say that you should find a way to highlight your communication skills, because that is one of the, I think that is the topmost skill you would need when you work remotely, because you're not with people in person. So it is all about how you communicate to your team members, your team leaders, your bosses, your colleagues. So you should find a way to brand yourself such that they would think of you as someone who is very good in terms of your communication skills. You should also have a good personality, so that when people are working with you, they don't, like, you shouldn't have a dull personality such that people should always be looking forward to talking to you and then working with you and interacting with you, because then again, you are not there. So you shouldn't be dull. And then also you should be very responsive, because imagine we are all working remotely and then an email has been sent, and then it will take about 45 minutes to an hour before you respond, right? You need to be as responsive as possible so that you will be reliable when it comes to working remotely with your colleagues. So I feel like in addition to the technical skills that you will gain, you should find a way of branding yourself such that you can convince the interview panel or whatever, to let them know that you are good in all these skills, as in like these soft skills. Another thing too that I would add to the earlier question was that these websites that we mentioned. So when you are signing up, so Janice said that you should build a good portfolio, right? In addition to the portfolio, when you are signing up, you would be asked to mostly take a coding test if it is not if it is a technical role. If it is a non-technical, a non-coding role, maybe they will look at how you are good in your agile methodology skills or whatever. You could take up some LinkedIn test courses, or maybe some certifications. I'm sure some of the companies and some of the clients will look at it. People will say the certification is not really necessary or needed in the tech field, but some clients would want to see that you have a certificate that shows that, especially when it is not a coding role, you will need some of these things to back them up. In addition to that, you would have to do a coding test if it is a coding role on these websites. So Van Hack, Global Skills Hub, Angel.co. In fact, before your profile will be made public to recruiters and companies, you should have passed some coding tests. So before you consider applying for these remote roles, you should learn how to do this coding test. So you can check Code Wars, Lead Code. There are a number of them where you can do these coding challenges and all of that. Yeah, so that is all I would say regarding this. And then also you should, so if you are looking at applying for remote jobs and then you don't have really good experience, let's say your CV does not have work experience in the industry, you can take advantage of voluntary projects, right? So for instance, I have during the lockdown, Facebook and Andela collaborated to come up with some project called Build for SDGs for developers in Africa, right? So it was Andela that brought this initiative out. they reached out to all developers in Africa to take part. They were not paying anybody, but it was a challenge where you would apply like you're applying for a job. So you would do a test. At that time, COVID was fresh. We were all in lockdown. So you do some analysis in Python regarding the COVID statistics, how many people are dying, how many people have been hospitalized, blah, blah, blah. And once you are able to pass that, you are put in a group, like you are put in smaller groups, and then you are given the task to come up with a project that will tackle each of the sustainable development goals, the SDGs in Africa. So I remember I was in a team with 8 people. It was voluntary. We were all home. I was doing my work and then I was doing that too. And we were all working together. I made friends out of this project. And then I put whatever I did on my LinkedIn profile, right? So anything you do, if you are learning how to code, if you are doing a project, if you are doing a side project for a company or somebody, you should find out if you can put some of these things on your LinkedIn. Maybe for clients, you may not be able to put the projects on your LinkedIn, but for your own personal projects, put everything on not LinkedIn, sorry, GitHub. Put everything on your GitHub so that you can add the links to the repositories to the CV. So once you do that and then you send these CVs on the websites and then to the companies where you're applying for, they will just go and check it out. They will see the projects that you have done, and then it can initiate a conversation or an interview for you to get the job eventually. So that is what I would say.
All right. Thank you very much, Amatu. Hello, Dorcas.
Yes, Angela.
Yes. So how do you position yourself to take advantage of what opportunities?
Okay, remote jobs. I think I got the question. So I think the first thing I liked about what the last speaker said was the interview part and the CV. So mostly when you're applying for jobs, you should know that the recruiters get thousands of CVs. And sometimes they just want to be able to file through the CVs to find the people they are looking for, right? So definitely they won't get to take everybody. So if your CV is not updated, up to par, having some essential things highlighted out, there is no way you're going to be picked. So from the CV part, make sure you highlight your skills. Mostly what we do is we want to just throw all our experiences on the paper and send it to the CV. If your CV is 3-page long, 4-page long, nobody will waste their time to look at it. They will just look at the first 2 pages. If it's good for them, they said, okay, put it in the, let's schedule an interview with the person pile, right? And then if you're not good enough, they pull you aside and go to the next person. So structuring your CV is quite important. If you have a first class, for say in your undergrad, you put it there. If you've done 2 masters, you put it there. If you have a work experience that you did something extraordinary that they gave you an award for, or that you've done something that highlights your skills, you put it there, right? Most relevant thing comes first, and things that you know that it's relevant to the job. So mostly we do not advise people to always have, let's say, one standardized CV based and out. Mostly have CVs that are tailored to specific jobs. So if you have a job that you're going for, let's say coding, and then you feel like you've done something in sales and you feel like sales is not really related to what you're doing, if you have more relevant skills, you put it up there before, if there is, before you had the sales, maybe some people CV as quite scanty. So that's one. Then when it comes to the interview bit, right, for the amount of people who have interviewed a lot of people, right, and then for the people who have interviewed, is that they come unprepared. That's one. You come unprepared, you literally throw the recruiters off bounds that the person is not really serious with what you're trying to do, right? You know, the first question they mostly ask you in every interview is, tell me about yourself. So you should already have something crafted down or something to say, how to summarize it in, like, let's say 5 minutes. So the person will be like, okay, wow, I really appreciate like you telling me about yourself, right, in 5 minutes. But you tell people to tell you about themselves and they're telling you they have 5 kids, your brother is this height, or they stayed at a place. Like some things are not really necessary in when they ask you the question, tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself is they want you to summarize who you are, maybe what you do, what are your relevant skills as tailored to the specific role you're applying for. So I think that's one thing you have to, like, people have to really take note of when they are using the term, tell me about yourself. So in the interview process, whether you get a job or not, and tell me whether you're able to kind of wow the recruiters, right? And you know that you're going to definitely ask you about, tell me the skills and the experiences you have that makes you qualify for the role you're applying for. So those things are something that you should already have crafted down. So I really have people know that they have to prepare extensively well for interviews, even before they even get there, to show that they're actually serious for the role, right? Definitely in this day and age, no matter the job you're going for, they want you to have some form of technical skills, right? Even you're not in the technical field, definitely if you're working as a salesperson, as a marketer, as maybe my role as an executive assistant, you definitely need some form of technical skills. Especially the person I'm recruiting for right now is saying she wants applicants that have some form of technical background, even though what they are going to do is like an executive assistant role. Some of them will give you, they'll give you a site, definitely give applicants a site to test their typing speed. So we give you a site, tell you to take this test and then to send us the results. So you'll be like, how does how fast I type have to do with the role I'm going for and all that? But right now we're moving towards the technical age whereby even if your work is not related to anything technology, the employers want to know that now that there's a changing track and there's technological advancement, you'll be able to fit in. Yeah, so that's what I have to say for how definitely you have to prepare yourself to take advantages of remote jobs. Have a good profile, have a good personal brand. If you don't have a good personal brand, there's no way you'll be able to take advantage of a remote job, because the words you say determine whether you're taken into the position or not. So I'll move on to the next, maybe the next question.
All right, thank you all very much. Okay, so please remember we'll have some time for Q&A at the end, right? And then someone else also shared in the chat related to this that ideally CVs should be sent as PDF documents and only in Word when it's specified in the job posting. And then you should use a cover letter, right? Or a cover letter email message. And that is great for people with employment gaps. Okay, so we move on to the third question. I think some answers had already come up relating to the third question, which was that you should be very responsive, know how to work in a team, right? So how can we excel in remote jobs? Janice, I'd like to start with you.
Okay, so I would like to talk about two things over here, which are discipline and self-motivation. And I'll say the level of discipline and self-motivation you will require to excel largely depends also on the working structures you have in place in your organization, which supports remote work. So I'll use my two institutions I worked with for as examples. So in Ghana Library Authority, as I mentioned, we started remote work as a contingency in response to COVID-19 in order to be able to continue the working process. So with that being said, a lot of structures and provisions were not made. So there was, I'll say, too much lax and flexibility in the process. Reporting wasn't standardized and all that. So you just know your goal, and then you are expected to set targets for yourself. And then at the end of the week, you just send a snapshot of the work you did throughout the week to your superior. And more than one person could be assigned to a particular task, and you have someone at home not doing anything because eventually nobody's going to check anyway. So at the end of the period, you realize that some people just fell through the cracks. They were not doing anything, whilst others excelled. But then on the contrary, at Tech 11, my German company, it is a well-established company and has about 50% of its workers working remotely, and then the other 50 on site in Germany. So they have all the structures in place. They have task management applications we use, like Jira. They have team application. We were using Microsoft Teams and many other applications. So with that structure in place, you were always on track. And then we were also using a combination of agile methodologies. So we're using Scrum, test-driven development, extreme programming. So with that, you are expected to be behind your desk at a particular time for stand-up meetings where you will discuss what you did the previous day, the impediments you came across, and we all try to resolve it. And then we all identify the task we'll be performing that particular day. So with that discipline, you cannot really just relax, because you know that at the end of the day, you are accountable to somebody, and then you are being graded on your work. And every 3 weeks, you are given feedback on your output. If you are going down, you know, and all that. So with that level of discipline, you will just need to motivate yourself a little bit, and then you are there. So I think that if you happen to find yourself in an organization where there's less structure, there are certain strategies you have to implement yourself in order to excel. So one of the things you have to do is, when I was at Ghana Library Authority, I made the calendar my best friend. You have to ensure that you allocate specific times to complete specific tasks, or else you end up working on one task throughout the day or not doing anything at all throughout the day. And I think another thing which people also downplay a lot, in my opinion, is that you have to, as remote workers, there's always the temptation to just sit on your bed, undress, lie around, and just do your work. But then from my experience, talking from my experience, I realized that I am more effective when I'm well-dressed and I sit behind my computer in my designated work area. So I'm able to achieve more. So we can also try that and compare the results. You realize that the results speak for itself. And I also like to add that if you do not have, if you are working in a less structured organization, you can also use these task management applications yourself. There's Trello, there's Jira, there's Asana. They have varying complexities. So you can just explore all these applications and see which one works for you. It will help you to break down goals into various tasks, and then you allocate completion times, and you're able to track all your outputs and your progress on all tasks you are performing, so that at any given point in time, there's a dashboard which makes your work transparent and more visible. And as Amma mentioned earlier, I think to excel in your remote work, you have to actively participate. You have to know that you are not alone. You are working in an organization, just that you are working away from the office setting. And then make sure that whatever communication medium your organization uses, you are actively using it to communicate with your peers. And when you have challenges, don't feel like you are alone. Reach out to others, and you'll be surprised how much help people are willing to give once you ask. And in the same vein also, when you realize that someone is struggling or someone asks for help, be willing to help, because doing that, you also learn. And then let your significance be felt in any team that you are assigned in. So these are a few things that I would like to say, but there are more things that will help you to excel in your remote work.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that, Janice. Right, so to Andrews.
Hi.
Hi.
So for me, I'd like to talk about respect. For me, I think I work with people from India and New York, and they live at India and New York, but they are not actually from there. They come from different cultures again. So respect is big for me. When you speak to people from India, their dialect, the way they speak their English, there's a lot of difference to it. The first time and my team started working with our clients, we had issues understanding them, but then with time, we got used to the way they spoke. But then there's a tendency, we are Ghanaian and we are Africans, there's a tendency to make jokes about this kind of things, but I would say that when you work in such an environment, you have to give a lot of respect to the people. You have to understand that people come from different cultures. Also, a very controversial topic in our country, LGBTQI. When you work with people from abroad, you find in instances you will find yourself working with people who identify as one of those alphabets, and you have to understand that they are from a different culture, and that's what makes the world that we have different cultures. So you have to understand that and respect them. I have not had an instance where I had somebody in my team like that, but I know people within my company who have had those experiences. So there are some people who were unable to respect that cultural difference, and they lost their job for it. Because if you're on a team and you make fun of other people and they report you to HR that they cannot work with you, then we have to let you go. You don't have respect for people's differences. So I really want to highlight that if you want to work remotely and internationally, then you have to respect that. Working remotely also requires you to know your schedule. So as calendar was mentioned, I would like to mention that again. I've met people who have their entire day, not their entire day, they have their entire life planned on a calendar, and at my workplace, everybody's calendar is open to everybody else. So you can see people's schedule and you know what they have at specific time so that you can target them. Like if you want to have a meeting with somebody, you can look at their calendar and schedule a time when they are free. So it helps because for such people, it seems they have a lot on their hands. Usually they do have a lot on their hands, so they schedule those things on their calendar. So they even have a time where they're going to look at their chat. So some teams I've worked with, we use Slack for communication. Some people use Microsoft Teams, which is like the mostly used option these days. We also use Google Chat. So you can send messages to people, right? But with these people who have their schedule plan on their calendar, they have a time when they'll come and check their messages. So when you send it, they won't see it. When that time is due, that's when they will come and look at the message. So it would be better if you look at their calendar and then you see when they are free. Then you go, or when they will check their messages, then you go and send them the message at that time. Then you get the quick response you want. For Morgan Stanley, there's a lot of structure. For us, we are times like when you log into work, your employer knows you are at work. When you log out, your employer knows you are not working. So there's a lot of structure to that. So honesty is really plays a key role in excelling, because we know when you are in. You can't come and tell us you were in and then you were out. So that discrepancy would show. So you have to be honest with the times when you are working. I think I've not experienced it, but I've heard people who I've had people tell me about it. People who work in US And many other foreign countries, they report their work time. I've even had people who I worked with ask me to report the hours I've worked, right? So I'll report the hours I've worked, and then based on that, they'll pay me. So if I have not worked for this many hours, I can't say I've worked for this many hours. It's not that they are timing me, but they rely on my honesty. So yeah, if you work remotely, you have to be honest about things. There are times when I was working. I remember one instance, I was working at home and my internet was off and I needed to join a meeting. So I joined late and then they asked me and I was telling them that my internet was off. And it sounded skeptical because it felt as if I was telling a lie, using the internet as a brush off, and I actually maybe forgot about the meeting or not. But with time, that happened the first time my team and I joined started working with a client. But then with time, as you build trust, when you see you must be able to build trust, and trust comes from telling the truth. Like if something does not go in your favor, and you like if you didn't do something which is good. I remember, let me just give this example and then end with that. So there was a time where I was supposed to join a meeting. I was having a one-on-one with my team lead, and I was having a technical issue. So one other team member connected with the team lead and told them that I wouldn't be able to join because I'm having some technical issue, and then my time slot, where I was supposed to have the one-on-one, they would take it and then I would take theirs, so that by then I would have fixed it. So when I eventually got on the meeting with my team lead, they asked me, they said it was a good thing. It was a good catch that I realized I was not going to join, so I took someone else to take my time slot. And I was like, no, it was not me who thought of it. The person thought of it by themselves. They realized I was having an issue, and then they took that initiative. That's blatant honesty, right? So the next time I have an issue and I miss a meeting and they should ask me and I should give the honest reason why the thing happened, they wouldn't doubt it because they know even if the thing does not go in my favor, I would say so, right? So honesty you must build trust when you're working remotely because no one is seeing you. I think I'll end there. So at those 3 things.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. So Dorcas, and then we'll end with Amatu for this question.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I would say 2 things. I would say taking initiatives and being flexible. So if you're trying to work with someone outside the country, maybe if it's in Ghana, it will definitely be a 9 to 5. But if you're working for someone outside the country, you should know one important thing: the time zones are different, right? And especially if you have a boss that moves from different parts of the world, moves around the world, you know that you will not have the typical 9 to 5, right? London is 1 hour ahead, right? Even Jamaica is 5 hours ahead. So if your person that you're working for is moving around the world, mean that you'll be able to have to be flexible enough to adapt, right? Especially when you're having a role that you have to work with somebody personally, especially when you have to, as I was saying, the executive assistant role, your boss will have to, okay, I need this from you, and you have to be able to respond to the person. That's 1. 2, over communication is not bad, right? What they'll try and tell you that if you have an issue, please say it, right? And we might be like, oh, it feels like I'm complaining and everything, right? But if you're working with someone, you're in Africa or you're in Ghana, you're working with someone outside the country, and there are certain things that are beyond your control. You could be here one time and then all of a sudden the light goes off. And you know you have a meeting in 1 hour. And in your mind, you were not expecting the light to go off, and then your phone is low. You don't even have a power bank to charge it. And before you say you move from your house to somewhere else that you can get electricity, you might be late. right? You might be trying your best to make sure you meet the meeting, or you might not want them to feel like you're lying. But if you communicate beforehand, or you tell them that this is the issue that's going up, this is what is happening, and as such, you will not be able to make the meeting. They don't understand. Then you trying to meet the time, being late, and they losing credibility. Because all the time you realize that you're working with somebody remotely, and you're working with somebody online, and you're not there in person for them to be like saying, okay, what you're saying is true. So you have to find a way to over communicate, tell them what is going on, tell them your situation, right? Before you even start the work, you should already let them know that maybe within a week, there's a possibility that 3 days, 3 days out of the week, you might experience light issues, right? So they already know in advance that they are employing you. Because what I do is also ask people how is their living situation, what is the electric, their light off, what's it like, if they have backup power bank, if they have generators, right, to be able to kick back work, because you're working with somebody outside, and if you've already noticed from outside, there's nothing like light off or do on. Hardly would you hear that, right? Because some of them have 24/7 power supply. So maybe when you're trying to tell them it's new. So we definitely want to understand that, okay, this is how it works in this part of the world, right? And how will you be able to meet them halfway to know that you're actually giving them the best service that you can. The third one is taking initiative. If you want to extend the remote job, you have to take initiative. It wouldn't be for all remote jobs, but for maybe some non-technical ones, right? I feel like you should have to take initiatives. Initiative in the sense that you know that they give you a task. They give you a task, and then you're able to complete the task, you're done, right? But most people go to the extent now of finding ways of actually helping the company beyond of what they are giving or beyond their role, right? So I'll give an example of what I did. Is as soon as I entered the company, right, I looked at their website and I realized that they were missing something, right? So what I did was I drafted a document of what I thought they were missing and how they could better restructure the wordings on their website in order to capture audience. And the CEO was really much impressed that I did that. It was not part of my job description. They did not ask me to do that. I just felt like it's something as from somebody coming out or coming into a company, how I could better benefit the company, right? If you're working for the lady I'm working for, she always say this: take the company as if you're your own, right? Because when it grows, you grow. When it's excel or make small profit, definitely some of them fall back and you also enjoy. So definitely those are the key things. I feel like if you want to excel in a remote job, don't make it feel like it's they give me tax, I finish the tax, they give me tax, I finish the tax. That way, if you have two different employees and one person is completing the tax at the same time, suggesting certain things that the company can do or taking time to look into other areas that can help the company as compared to you always completing your tasks on hand. If it gets to a chance for promotion or get to time to increase salary or something like that, they would definitely give it to the person that takes more initiative as compared to you. I think that's
all right. Thank you very much, Dorcas. Okay, so Amatu, over to you.
Okay, so a lot has been said. I would just say that just know the timings. As Janice mentioned, the discipline aspect is very, very important. So know that even though I'm working remotely and I'm home, I'm working for 8 hours or I'm working for 7.5 hours. Make sure that you are working within that time frame. Do not put things on hold and say, okay, maybe I'll start working on them after 5 or something like that. You will burn out. So make sure that if you're supposed to be working from 9 to 5, you are doing that. If you're supposed to be taking breaks, take break. If on your calendar you said you will take break at 12:30, make sure you take break at 12:30 and then it is within 1 hour. So in my experience, one thing I was doing was that I'll say I'll take breaks and then I'll be hungry. So I'll go to the kitchen. Whilst I'm cooking, the 1 hour will be up and then my food is not ready and I have to go back to work. So I decided that, okay, even though I'm home, I will cook for the week during the weekend and then maybe heat the food when it's time for me to eat and I'm on break. In that way, you will not be too tired you'll be working within the time frames that you are supposed to be working in. Another thing too is the social aspect, right? So you need to sometimes get away from the remote working environments that you are in. Especially, I'm sure my colleagues have experience with working in the diaspora. It can be very, very depressing, very boring. If you don't have friends that you check up on or you meet most of the time, you will feel really, really lonely, as if you are the only working. Meanwhile, you have people that you're working with. So if your organization is organizing maybe social events, games, whatever, try and go. If you're an introverted person and you say, okay, I don't like going out, it will not help. Go, just go. Try and build familiarity with your friends, like your colleagues, right? Because sometimes you get to maybe you have brunch or something with your colleagues, you talk to them and all that. When you come back to work and then you are in a meeting or something, you realize that the reception they give you is different, right? Because they've seen you, they've interacted with you. So it feels like, oh, I know this person right now in person. And then try and then show concern about how they are feeling, ask them about their weekends, what they've been up to, and all that. People don't like the fact that you just send them emails, send them messages, and expect them to just do the work. Sometimes you need to build that familiarity, talk to them, and all of that. Another thing too is that you should try and exercise. Maybe you can exercise in the mornings or exercise after work. It gives you more energy so that you don't feel too bored and too drained when you are working remotely. Try and take walks, go to the parks, admire nature or whatever. Just get away from your remote working environment and then come back, and then it'll feel like everything is now feeling fresh, because it can be very, very draining and depressing in my experience. So that is what I would add to what everybody has said.
Okay, thank you very much, Amatu. And thank you to all our panelists. I can see that you've even answered the other questions that we're going to ask already about
Which one?
comparing and contrasting working in person with working remotely, working in Ghana as compared to working in other parts of the world, and advice for anyone who wants to work remotely. So I'd now like to open it up to any questions or any comments from our audience. And thank you very much to Mary, who has been basically summarizing everything that's being shared and then putting it in the chat as well. So please, I'll open it up. If anyone has any questions, or maybe they would like to share something with us briefly, it's open. Okay. I see
think
there's
there's
a hand
someone.
up. Perpetual. Yes, please share.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and hello to those from different time zones too. My question is on when you're working remotely and you have people you are working with and they seem not to be pulling their weight. How do you deal with that? If, for instance, there's a task that's supposed to be accomplished, but you realize that it's just being dragged, how do you deal with team members like that? Thanks.
Okay, please, who would like to take a shot at this? Any of our panelists? I think Janice shared something earlier, but that you being disciplined on your side. So please, who would like to take a look? Who would like to start?
So
Yes.
I can share from my experience. So in my previous job, right, most of the time we were together. So if somebody is not responding to you, you walk to their desk and then you talk to them or something like that. So I didn't like to escalate things. Emails were the last things I would send, right? I will send you a message on Teams and I'll go and see you. And if it's not progressing, then maybe I'll send the email. In my current experience, there are particular teams where they are always very busy, and or maybe they are not pulling their weight, right? So you send them messages, they don't respond and all of that. So I think that you should try and learn to escalate things. It may sound very, maybe you will feel like you are being political sometimes in the working environment, but sometimes there's nothing you can do. So send emails and then copy the people all the stakeholders that are concerned regarding the project you are working on, and then try and then make it look like you have tried to reach out to the person, because they would know that you have been trying to reach out to them. Don't just get up and send the emails. Try and communicate with them. That's something that build the familiarity with the people, first of all, so that when you request for something from them, they would want to respond. But if you realize that they are not responding, send emails and then copy the important people that you're supposed to be, they're supposed to know. So in this case, you're escalating the issue. So at that point, you have taken it off your shoulders and then you have pushed it on the person. Some people would take action when they see such emails. Others too may ignore it because maybe they're busy or something like that. Then maybe you can schedule a meeting with their superiors and then talk to them. If it happens so many times, then they will know. People will know that this person is not pulling their weight, and then I'm sure an action will be taken. So learn to escalate issues, but before you escalate, try and then get the response from them one-on-one. But it shouldn't take more than a day, right? To get the response that you need. If you realize that a whole day has gone by without them responding, I think you should escalate it.
So I think there are 2 points. I think Professor just sent in a comment that what if you are the line manager? So like I think there are 2 perspectives of this. If you are like the colleague of the person, if you are all in a junior role, and then if you are the line manager or project manager, as Professor was mentioning, and if you are like in a junior role, I would say you offer help if you can. I mean, if it's about technical stuff, if they know, if it's about like, do they understand what they are supposed to do? Can they do it? You offer help if you can, of course. Yeah, I mean, you offer help if you can. If you are a project manager, I have seen instances at Morgan Stanley where we had new employees and these people were not pulling their weight, and our project manager blatantly. So it's mostly they talk about honesty a lot. So they honestly said these people are not pulling their weight, so they had to let them go. And but then before they let them go, I think when they came in, they assigned a couple of engineers who were quite more experienced with the project and quite more experienced generally, to help them like get abreast with the platform. I think maybe once they understand the code base, they'll be able to work more efficiently. So they tried to help them, and they saw they didn't pull their weight enough, so they let them go. Ideally, if you employ somebody and they are not doing the work for you, in Ghana, people might be hesitant to let people go, but with people from, I mean, if you are dealing with if you are paying people and they are not pulling the weight for you, let them go. I even know a company in Ghana who had to let go of an engineer because they were not pulling their weight. So if they are not doing well at all, I mean, and you don't think that anyone else in the team can help, I would say you let them go. Let them prepare and they come back. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is where what do you call it? Janice's experience as the Scrum Master comes in, right? That's one of the benefits of working in an agile methodology environment. So if you're the line manager, that means that you are breaking the job into tasks, and you are doing the work in sprints. So let's say every sprint is within a 2-week period. So are you saying that within the 2-week period, the person is not completing their task at all? If yes, the next sprint, they are not, then some action would have to be taken if you are the line manager and then your subordinate is not pulling their weight, right? Maybe they don't understand what they are supposed to be doing. So you can talk to them. If you can be doing maybe peer programming or peer coding, you can actually maybe schedule 30 minutes of your time to look at what they are doing, to try and understand clearly what the challenges are. So you should, if that is happening, you should try and establish a lot of communication with them and then break down the task into sprints and what have you, so that they would understand that by the end of the next 10 days, I need to finish this. And if they cannot finish it, then they should let you understand why they won't be able to finish it within that 10 days. So in this case, there are structures that is governing how you work. So I don't know if we have answered your question.
Okay, so there's if I would also like to contribute to this.
Yeah, so I think this has been an excellent excelled in your career workshop. So kudos to you, Angie, and all the panelists. I had meant to stay for just a few 15 minutes, but I was enjoying the conversation. I was like, maybe I should, try and stay and get to some of my other commitments later. So in terms of management, I personally, in my humble opinion, have realized there are two types of managers. There are managers who give you tasks and they have no idea how long it's supposed to take you because they themselves have never done the task they have asked you to execute. And so if the manager has never done the tasks they are asking their direct reports to do, then this issue of expectation can rise up where a manager could feel that maybe the deliverables that they are asking their direct reports to give are not coming very quickly. So that's one scenario. And then there are managers who know exactly what they are asking you to do, and they have considered maybe the time it should take you to finish your task. And they've also, more importantly, factored that even though they are the managers and they have the expertise and the knowledge, they recognize that maybe you are at a beginner level or at an intermediate level, and they're able to clearly estimate how long these things should take you. Now, Perpetual's question, I'm assuming that this manager knows what they are about, they've done their due diligence, and still feel that this person is probably not pulling their weight. Then in that case, you have an honest conversation with the employee and tell them that I feel like when I ask you to do tasks, while it takes maybe everybody an hour, it's taking you maybe 5 hours, and I wanted to understand why the case is. For me, I'm in data analytics, and there are various tools. Some use Python. I prefer to use SAS, but there are data analytics people who sometimes even prefer to do things in Excel. And depending on sometimes the tool that you take, there are some time differences. And so sometimes as a manager, realizing that depending on the path the person chooses to take can, maybe create some differences in the time expectations is also crucial. But after those candid conversations and understanding the process the person takes and the type of software decisions they make along the way, if it still doesn't work out, then I think that's when the accountability measures that the company has can be set into motion for those things. Now, if you're a manager who hasn't done what your subordinates have ever done, then maybe you as a manager should also consider learning the basics and the fundamentals of what it takes your employees to deliver the tasks that they give to you. So just wanted to add that input so that we see both sides of the coin, that the fact that the deliverables are not coming quickly isn't always the subordinate's fault, but it could also be a time estimation problem from the side of the manager. So that would be it for me. Thank you, Angela.
All right, thank you very much, Ifya. So there's some questions in the chat. So some of them are pretty similar. So I think we'll just put it together and then that would be the last round. So we have, I started software development about 6 months ago. When do I know I am ready for a role, whether remote or not? And then a second question that's also similar, it says, how do we, those who, let's say maybe haven't been in school, but have been able to learn data analytics, how do we present or prepare our portfolio to prove that we have the skills and experience? And then there's a question about the confidence to apply for your first job. So how do you measure your preparedness and then gain confidence in your skills? So, and there's a last question that is, across Africa, we are quite bachelor's degree focused. Why do so many US developers say they don't have computer science degrees? So I think that gives us two questions. One is whether it is in software development or data analytics, how do you prepare yourself and then possibly apply for your first role? And a second question about, in other places, people don't have CS degrees, but then they still have, they still get the jobs. Like, what makes it different? So please, who would like to maybe get started, have a go at these questions?
Okay, Angela, I would like to combine the question about
okay.
So I think there was something about being self-taught, like data analytics, and then how come outside Ghana, people are not too focused on bachelor's
degrees? Yes.
I think Amma mentioned earlier the importance of certification examinations. So that was one thing I had in mind to say. So outside, recruiters look out for these things. It gives you an upper hand over someone who does not have the certification exam. So with the self-taught data analytics person, there are many certification courses you could take. So once you pass those ones, you have them on your CV, and then it shows that actually you have, although you were self-taught, you have actually reached the standard where others also have reached. And then in the same vein also, you would have a bachelor's degree, but you don't have your certification examination score or anything. A recruiter will get to you and then you are good and everything, but sometimes they'll give you feedback that you don't have a professional certificate, so we could not employ you. We employed this other person. So the importance of taking these internationally recognized courses and certification exams cannot be overemphasized. So that's what I have to add to that.
Okay,
I think I also,
okay, yes, please.
So I also have something to add to what Janice said right now. Even though you do not have, maybe you don't have certifications, or even you didn't do a bachelor's degree, right? You should be able to have a portfolio of works you've already done, right? So you can't show that you have certification, you can't show you have bachelor's degree, but you can show them that you've already done previous work already, or you've done information research about certain things that you already know of. It will show them that, okay, definitely you might not have gone to school, but you actually do have some information, or you've actually done what you say you do, or you've done it before to be able to excel. And that's one. Two, I think the young lady was asking, why do people outside the country focus more on, I think they are more focused on, I feel like they're more focused on skills acquisition rather than finishing a bachelor's degree. If you search, you realize that in 2019, only 13.1% of the, from the age range, like 25 or above, people are graduates. right, in America. And if you come to 2020, it's 37.6% of the people that are graduates out of the whole America. For the people that are of the age of going to school, only 37% of them are graduates. So you can ask yourself, why are even America that is maybe quite easy to get into school, or you can get definitely a lot of support in order to attend graduate school, why do students want to drop out when they finish their high school? Well, you could find out that most of them are more focused on learning how to do the specific thing they want to do. If it's they want to be an artist, want to be a musician, if they want to go into sales, right? They focus on their time learning how to do the job rather than going to school. It's more of, right? Whilst here in Africa, we've placed emphasis that if you've gone to school, you definitely know what you're trying to do. But right now you hear a lot of this, and there's unemployment. If we're so focused on getting a bachelor's degree, why is it that you get a bachelor's degree and then you still don't have job? Because you go to school and all you learn is being book smart. That when you come out, you realize that definitely what you read in the book is not actually what they are doing on ground, right? That you find yourself in more of a pickle, and somebody outside that has not even gone to school will come to the country, show the people that they can do the work, and they don't even care whether they have a bachelor's degree or not, but they get a job as opposed to you that you already have a bachelor's degree, right? So I feel like it's very much important. Right? I'm not saying going to school is actually bad. I'm saying if you're going to go to school and also learn the skills, right? That's why most people are definitely pushed to do internship, they're pushed to certificate work, they're pushed to do extracurriculars that will help them boost their self-confidence, boost their ability for them to be able to do the work, right? Because I have a friend who is in US and he's told his parents that he's not going to school, but he started working at a restaurant and started doing because he wanted to go into restaurant management. And as of now, he's just like 22 and they made him the manager over all other people, right? Because he wasn't really focused on school per se. He was focused on getting the skills he needed in order to excel in the career that he wanted to. So skills acquisition, being much experience, at the same time, even adding education to it, is what mostly push people forward to do stuff. So that's just on my part.
Okay. Thank you all very much. I think this has been a lot of information, and I trust everyone has enjoyed it. So maybe any final comments from anyone?
So I wanted to, I don't know if the question about how do you know you are ready to apply for a remote job? I don't know if someone answered that.
No,
But
I don't think that has been answered yet. Anything that
yeah,
has been
so and then something about the confidence in your
Yes,
skill.
no, it hasn't been answered yet.
Okay, so I would say that when it comes to data analytics or data engineering, there are websites. For instance, there is this website called Kangah. So there are people who have done projects. Okay, they have downloaded data sets, used the data analytics and tools to analyze these data sets. So there are lots of data sets about a lot of industry domains. You get for health, finance, business, whatever. So you can go and then look at what people have done. You can copy the exact same thing that someone has done. Just do it and then get the experience. Seeing somebody do it and then you doing it yourself is a whole lot of learning process that you would achieve. And at the end of the day, when you go from installing Python on your laptop to actually downloading these data sets and analyzing them, you would have enough experience to improve the confidence that you need to build. It may not be 100%, but then it will be way more improved than how you started. Also, when you are self-teaching yourself, or you have signed up to a course or a boot camp or whatever, actually practice what you learn. Take up projects. Let's say, for instance, someone can say, I'm a web developer, right? you can say that, okay, I want to do a particular feature of Facebook, right? I want to do the feature where I'll send a friend request and then it will be in the person's queue and the person will accept my friend request and then I would see it. You don't have to do everything, but you can say that, okay, I want to create this feature on Facebook. Actually do what it is out there and then always share it, put it on your public profile, GitHub, very, very important. Put everything you do on your GitHub profile. It will help you build the confidence. Another thing too is that when you subscribe to these remote job websites, which we have already mentioned earlier, there are challenges that you will need to take. Go through all these challenges. When you signed up, you create your profile, you upload your picture, you upload your CV. They will give you a coding test that you need to do. If you're able to finish this coding test and pass, then it means that you are employable ready, right? You are okay to start going into an interview or applying for a job. You can also do mock interviews. So this lady Ivy Bali has some resources where she has a lot of websites, and one of this includes where you can do mock interviews. Sometimes she even does Twitter spaces where you can go and then they will do a mock interview, maybe 5 minutes for each person. And then doing it like that in public would also build your confidence. You can also try and then apply for jobs just for the fun of it and then see if you will be called. You don't have to necessarily get the job, just see how it will go, right? The interview process. You may flop, but then the next one will not be like the previous one. So always try and build on what you know and then do the thing. Just do it, get the errors, get frustrated, put your laptop down for some time and come back. I mean, how you started will not be maybe 2 or 3 months later when you're actually experiencing the process. So that's how to build the confidence. And once you start working with people, the confidence will come, right? It will come once you are working with people. So that is what I would say.
Okay, wow, thank you very much. So there was a question about whether the recording will be made available. So we're part of a global network known as Women Who Code. They have a YouTube channel, so I will request that this be made available on the website, on their YouTube channel. And then, so please follow the Women Who Code YouTube channel, right? Do join us as well. We have other events coming up. I think on the 28th of this month. She was here earlier. I think one of our panelists would be Elizabeth, will be taking us through a talk on artificial intelligence. Right, we have a talk on fintech coming up later. Please follow us on Meetup. All the activities are there, and we are still virtual, so we don't need to be in one place, so you can join us from anywhere. We've also been having a series on Python. We had a first class, and then there was a second one. Those are going to be up on the Women Who Code YouTube channel as well. They also have a lot of resources, right? There's career navigation, so there are many resources about going through interviews. Sometimes people share their stories. There are some scholarships, some boot camps and others that you can register for, just so you build up your skills. So, all right, it looks like we've made good time. I was hoping we wouldn't go beyond an hour and a half. And I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone who has joined. Please, if you're not following us already if you're not part of the community on Meetup already, please do join and then follow Women Who Code on social media as well. Thank you all very much. And we really, really appreciate this. It has been a wonderful learning opportunity. All right.
Thank you too.
All right, bye everyone. Can we take and just turn on our videos? Sorry, can we just turn on our videos quickly so I take a screenshot? Sorry. This is late. Is it possible?
It should be possible.
Right. If everyone should just turn on their video, it's possible.
We all can say women who code Accra, and hopefully Angela will get bright smiles.
Okay, I'm not seeing. Oh dear.
Please come on camera. And make sure your camera is pointing to your face.
Oh, okay. I don't think it might be possible for everyone. Hmm. Okay. Okay. I can't seem to see it. Can someone take a screenshot for us? I don't think you have.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Right. And thank you everyone once again. Right. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Great job. Great job, panelists.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.